Do you find yourself searching, yearning for more, but you don't know what that more is? I'm Catherine Duncan, near-death survivor, mystic, and intuitive. Welcome to Everyday Awakening. On this podcast, I explore what it means to be alive. I help you awaken into your soul and live fully now. Through inspiring conversations, we'll dive into mindfulness, spirituality, and the transformative power of presence and living aligned with this universal energy. Together, we'll examine life's biggest questions, and I'll share practical wisdom to help you open your heart and awaken to the preciousness of being alive. Today's guest is Jaime Richichi. Jaime is an entrepreneur, author, and creative visionary with a passion for helping others design lives of purpose, confidence, and beauty. A former fashion executive and top luxury real estate broker, she now leads AFFINÜ Atelier and Ēdition, blending design and personal transformation. Jaime is working on her very first book, exploring the hidden cost of overthinking, self-doubt, and intuition, and shows readers how to reclaim the trust they've buried under fear. Her journey, including 2 brain surgeries, fuels her mission to empower women through mentorship, style, and self-trust. Welcome, Jaime.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, great to meet you. Love to dive in. I understand your life took a detour. Would you share, where you're at, what happened?
So my mom passed away back in 2010. I was 27 at the time, and she was my world, my best friend. Everything I did was about my family, and I kind of built my life centered around what my mom needed when she got sick in all of those years and financially supporting them. So even through when I was in college, making the decision where I had to step away from that to get a full-time job in order to support my family, my identity was tied to my mom, and my career at that point was based around what my family needed. So I had lived until I was 27, essentially for others. And after she passed away, I had a tremendously difficult time, to the point where I was so depressed, lost all sense of self, completely lost in the world, because my purpose was now gone, because my purpose was making sure my family was okay. And now my mom was gone. And so what did I have? And I had this career that was built around supporting other people. So this went on for 10 years, where I kept getting these blinding headaches, and I was also having panic attacks. And there was a lot of things that were happening in my life that were definitely tied to my emotional response to my mom's death. And I kept going to doctors and seeing different neurologists and saying, these are different headaches. These aren't migraines. I had migraines as a kid. I know something's wrong. And every doctor I went to said, you're not even 30. You're healthy. There's nothing wrong with you. You need Xanax. You need to see a therapist. Stop working so hard. Deal with your emotional trauma, and the headaches will go away. So I did that for 2 years. And then kind of at the end of the 2 years, I started having these reoccurring dreams of waking up in a hospital bed with tubes coming out of my head. And it was like this knowing in my body and in my soul that something was wrong. I knew it. I felt it, but no one would listen to me. So,
Wow, that's powerful.
It's powerful. I'm like, oh, I'm crazy. Totally fine. I'm depressed. I know I have some emotional baggage. This is the thing. So I was out drinking one night with a colleague, and we drank a little bit too much. And I was coming up one of those Brooklyn bars where the stairs, you go up instead of down. And I tripped going up, and I fell flat on the pavement, busted my whole face up, was super swollen, but too drunk to deal with it. So I went home, and then the next morning I went to City MD and told, they were like, one, we think you maybe have a fracture in your face, so we need to get you an MRI. And that is what triggered them finding out that I had a brain tumor. So had I never fallen, I never would have, who knows when I would have known. I would have known at some point, but maybe it would have been too far gone. I was super lucky to have discovered it when I did. I always joke that I think my mom pushed me because it was there was some spiritual push that made me fall. And I am incredibly lucky and grateful. And I always say that fall and that brain tumor, the first of, well, both of them were the best thing that ever happened to me, because I would never be where I am. It forced me to wake up.
And how long ago was this? How many?
This was, so it was my first brain surgery was in 2014. My second was in 2015. So it'll be 10 years of my last, knock on wood, healthy.
Mm-hmm.
3-month MRI every year for the rest of my life. Happy to bring in that punch card into Weill Cornell every time for my MRI. But it forced me to live. It forced me to wake up. I was in such emotional turmoil from losing my mom and losing kind of my sense of self and my sense of purpose that I don't know where I would have gone and what would have happened if this didn't happen. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. And yes, a blessing that it was discovered. Can you tell us more about brain tumor? There's all kinds of brain tumors where they're not as serious to wildly serious.
Yeah.
And looks like, I'm guessing you're okay. You look very vibrant and
I am so okay and so am grateful beyond even being able to articulate. So I was very fortunate that it was in the dumb side of the right side of my brain. The only reason it was causing me a problem is because it was growing between that small space between your brain and your skull. There's not a lot of room. So it was just taking up so much room and creating so much pressure. And luckily at the point where we caught it, it wasn't attached to anything. It hadn't like intertwined with any organs or like, God forbid, like my socket or something where you hear people have these really devastating brain tumors. It's because it starts, and I'm not a medical expert. And honestly, a lot of this is a blur to me because I filed that in the archives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I was very lucky that it wasn't attached to anything significant. It was just there and in a dumb part of my brain. So when I saw the surgical team at Weill Cornell and the neurologist there, they were so thoughtful and saying, listen, you are young, you are healthy. If anyone's, a poster child for a craniotomy to take this out, it's you. Go in, take it out, and be done with it. Yes, you're going to have metal plates in your head, and we're going to have to shave part of your head, and it will be a very uncomfortable process, but you're going to get it out. We're going to get it, and it's going to be done. This is not something you wait and see. This is something you take control of, and you're very fortunate that you have the ability to do it. So I was so lucky to have, once I found the right care team, to have doctors that were super thoughtful and really were like, you are young and you have a lot of life to live. Don't let this be a thing where you sit on it and you're like, oh, maybe in a year, let's see if it grows. If it's causing you discomfort, there's a reason, take it out. So they took it out. It was benign. We did all the biopsy. Thank God. I was so grateful. And they thought they got it all out. And then I went for, I think it was my 6-month MRI. And they said, there's still some there. We thought we got it all. We didn't. We should go back in. So, I mean, that like got punched, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
done. And then I'm not. So they
Mm-hmm.
went back in, and then this time they treated it topically with whatever they put in, which I had some really bad allergic reactions to, but was fine. And that was that. And, we're going on now 10 years, and I go every 3 months just for a precaution, just to know and, to be in control of the situation should something flare up. But I'm super fortunate that, I was one of the lucky ones and not so many people are. And just like a really short story. So when I went back for that 6-month MRI and then they called me to the office to tell me it came back, I tell you, I had the biggest chip on my shoulder. I was like, I can't believe you didn't get it all out. You promised me I was done. And like, I was, one, defeated, but two, like just pissed at the universe, like all of the things. And then I was sitting in the neurologist's office in my room waiting for him to come in. And I could hear through the walls this woman talking to him with her husband. And it still gets me today, just begging him. She was going on her 6th surgery and begging him to do anything she could to save her. And I'm so sorry for you. And I know you've gone through this with your family. And I was like, wow, that's a perspective shift. I can control this, and it's not cancerous. It's benign at this point. Like, just go and get the 2nd surgery. Like, when I tell you the second wake up call was like, no, stop it. You be grateful for where you are, because not everyone has that. And it's changed me in the best of ways. I'm grateful for those surgeries.
Mm-hmm. Well, any way you slice it, it's upheaval. It is shocking. I mean, you don't expect that. And then when you think it's done, and then again, and it was 6 months later that this happened.
Later,
Okay.
yeah.
And
So
then,
I then went back in. I think we waited like another 6 or so months to go back in, because of however healing or whatever, they thought it was best to like not go immediately back in. I don't know why. I honestly don't remember. It was all such a blur to me.
And now you go back yearly? How often do you go back?
So every 3 months for an
Every three
MRI.
months.
Yeah, every
Okay.
3 months, just to be sure,
Mhm.
just to be
Yep.
certain.
Yep. And how is that for you when you go back every 3 months? Do you find fear, trepidation?
Yeah, you know, when I first started going back in, it was like there was like the loneliness factor of like, one, you're not going to burden someone. I am very much like, I don't want to put my crap on other people and like burden someone with like having them be there with you. And then there was the emotional trauma. The first, I'd say definitely the first two surgeries were emotionally very traumatic, not having my mom. And I had my dad and my brother, but it's just different when it's your mom. Like, you know, it's a different connection. So going through that on my without her was really tough. And then the first couple of years of going back was very traumatizing in the sense that like I didn't know if I was going to get the call. And now I'm at the point where like it's a joke. Like I go in and I'm like, oh, they're like, oh, if you, you know, we know you're always here. I'm like, yeah, can I get a punch card? Like I should get there now. Like now,
Yep.
you know, now I just it's lighthearted and I know I can get through it because I've done it before. So I'm like, look, these are things that are out of my control. I can focus on the worst case scenario, or I can focus on the best case scenario. So I've really learned throughout the years to, if we're going to spend the energy to focus on something, why are we focusing on worst case? Let's focus on best case. And I know what it was like the first two times. So if the universe sends me that again, like I now strong enough and grounded in myself to be prepared for it. Now, please don't send that to me. I'm not asking and putting that out. But you know, I think you just kind of you almost build this internal strength that you are like, it is what it is at that point. I can't control
Mhm.
it. I can't let my mind go there. I just don't allow my mind to go there.
Mhm. Well, it comes down to where do you place your focus,
Mhm.
and you're very, it sounds like mindful, conscious of where you're placing your focus.
Mhm.
And it'd be easy for you, I think, on your path to embody fear or worry, uncertainty. But we can rewire our brain, our mind through neuroplasticity and where we place our focus. And thank you for sharing this. What a huge experience. I can see how you said you woke up, cracked you open, and I just have to share what a blessing. I mean, a blessing that you're okay. My family, I lost my brother, my older brother Jim, to a brain tumor. A whole different story. He was a huge athlete, trained marathons, triathlons, Ironman, all that. And he had a seizure actually when he was training for an Ironman and went in and inoperable brain tumor. And he actually lived 10 years doing every clinical trial in the United States until they ran out of options. But he became fast friends with Lance Armstrong. He biked with Lance Armstrong across the country, raising money and awareness. And one thing that was just, I mean, he's changed all of our lives, but humor. He had such a bright light and humor through the whole experience. And we've all been forever changed by my brother. Yeah.
So sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry.
Oh, thank you. Just, life happens, we can't control it, but here's what we can control, like you've learned, is how you live your life. What are you choosing? How are you choosing to live? What are you going to embody? And I also witnessed that with my brother Jim, what he embodied up until literally the day he died. It was magical. It's incredible. And since then, I don't know if you believe in spirits, intuition, but he's come back and visited me. So he's like, I'm good. So I've seen him in the real time. And I know he's just the veil's thin and he's good.
Yeah. I believe in all of those things. And I'm like, oh, my mom's with me. Like, I'm like, you just feel it and you know that they're always guiding us and they're now
Mhm,
our guardians. So, and driving our paths. So.
mhm. So when you going through that experience, even to this day, curious to ask you, what is life-giving? And is there a faith component or not? I've in my practice as a chaplain, in my private practice, I've worked with every possible faith tradition and no faith traditions. And I'm just curious through all this, what's helped you?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I definitely, the first couple of years, the only thing that I really stayed focused on was like mentally just keeping myself grounded in the fact that I am lucky. This is a gift. This is an opportunity. Like, what an opportunity for me to now wake up and start again and to build a new life. And I didn't get into meditation. I didn't get into anything spiritually. I've always been very intuitive and felt very spiritually connected. And I really focused a lot on that, like kind of talking to my mom, but I didn't have any faith practices. We grew up Jewish, and not religiously though. So religion wasn't a thing, but I will say in the last couple of years, I've discovered Kabbalah and Joe Dispenza's work. And I follow David Guyam, who teaches an incredible course on Kabbalah. He did Kabbalah 1, and I've gone to many of his seminars. And that I really think has changed my life in the most profound way. But that didn't happen, that really happened for me in like 2023. 2022, 2023. And that's really when I've been like, oh, there is another way to connect back to yourself. And I thought for many years I was good. After my, once I got out, it felt like I was in the clear from the brain surgery things. And I started to feel back to myself. I started to be able to control my own emotions and get recentered. And I felt like I was really good and grounded. And I was like one of those people, I was like, I don't need this. I've got it. And then in 2023, career-wise, I had like an amazing year, and I had made my first 7 figures like on my own as an entrepreneur. And it was like supposed to be the thing. I turned 40 that year. I, achieved this goal, and it was supposed to be the thing that like lit me up and fulfilled me because it was what I was working for. I bought a house in the Hamptons. Like I did all the things, right? I checked the boxes of the things I wanted to do before I ever went and got married because I like wanted to accomplish for myself. And then I just felt so unfulfilled, and I was like, but why? Why am I not fulfilled? And that's what really drove me. And I like randomly came across one of David's posts on social, and I think he was just starting, and that's how I got into Kabbalah. And that had the most profound effect on me spiritually, and has really helped me to like adjust how I look at the world and adjust how I look at myself, and to really come back to source. And then also, Joe Dispenza's work is just absolutely incredible, where your, energy goes, where your attention goes, your energy flows, and controlling the mind-body connection. All of those things are life-changing tools, I think, and they've been so impactful for me.
That is just beautiful. And I think the Kabbalah is incredible, and the mystical elements of the Kabbalah. And I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've read all of his books. And when you really understand that mind, body, spirit connection, I mean, how we can turn on the stress response and how it's all connected, what we think, the feelings, then the chemical reaction in our body, pretty incredible. You mentioned going back a little bit, you mentioned having, this intuition and these dreams came to you of you in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that even before 2023, when you discovered this, were you having some inklings of, intuition, something more, but maybe weren't quite ready to go there, drop into it?
I've always been, since I was little, like super intuitive, but you don't know how to channel that, right? You're like, what is this weird thing? And like, am I weird for like feeling this connection? But it's when my mom passed away, I knew that she was going to die before she ever ended up in the hospital. Like I saw it, I felt it. I told her, please don't she had a surgery. She had cancer for many years, but she had a surgery, a pancreas transplant, 3 months before she passed away. And it was like, at that point, these things were like trial. Like it wasn't, we didn't have the technology or the knowledge that we have today. And I said to her, please don't do it because it's going to kill you. I know that I feel it in my soul that it's going to kill you. Please don't. And for her, and in hindsight, that was selfish of me because I was letting my fear drive that. But she wanted to do it, and she went through with it, and she was great for 3 months. She was the healthiest could remember her. And then it just took a turn, and then she went in the hospital, and 2 months later, she never came out. And so I felt it many years. I mean, my grandparents passed away when I was young. We had a lot of loss early in our lives, my brother and I, through aunts and uncles and grandparents. So I think all of that, like, spiritually did something to us, and we're both super connected, and we can really like feel. But it can get noisy sometimes, and you don't know if it's noise and it's fear, or if it's truly your intuition. But what I've learned is that when it feels very calm, like it's just this very calm knowing, there's no fear, so you just feel it and you know it. And when I had those dreams and I woke up, I was like, no, I know that this is like my body, for however it was connecting itself. I don't, know the science behind how it does, but it was connecting itself in a really deep way. And I just knew it. I just very calmly knew that this is it.
it just sounds like you have such a gift of intuition, of knowing that comes to you from your dreams. I'm guessing now in your life, is that a focus of just cultivating, growing a sense of knowing and intuition?
It's really something I've tried to focus on getting back to myself with, and really trying to just quiet all of the noise around me and really focus on my own internal feelings, and trusting that my gut there. And that's been a thing for me, I think, since COVID, of like trying to get back there. And now just in the last couple of years, discovering Kabbalah and Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, it's really helped me to like, I'll say align it, but like recalibrate it and package it in a way that I can use it as focused attention and know what to do with it. Because you have all these like feelings and you don't know how to actually bring them forth in a way that's meaningful and grounded. So this work has really helped me to like come back to my center, and to find that within myself. But I think it's so important to get, the only way you find it is in the stillness.
Mm-hmm.
And for so many years I was, I would know I'm going to spiral. I would feel myself doing more, chasing more, trying to find the answers externally. But the only answers we can find are within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taken a lot to get there and to teach myself that even today, to this moment, I know where I can spiral. And I'm like, nope, this is an intrusive thought. That's not what it is. And you learn how to shut it down. So, and like, it's just like it's an everyday practice and reminding. And I don't know that it ever becomes like autopilot, maybe one day, but I think we're always going to have these moments where we're like distracted. And I think I got a little off course from your question, so I apologize.
No. This is terrific. I mean, and just to highlight, understanding that coming into the moment, that's where the stillness is, the presence, the peace, the guidance. Mm-hmm. It's not in our fast chattering ego mind. And I work with people every single week, and from really successful executives, doctors, attorneys, all sorts of people, that just learning like you're not your mind. You have 70,000 thoughts a day. Where are you placing your focus? And I even share the question, are you focusing? Is your focus in your mind or in your heart? Just tuning in. Where are you? And learning to cultivate and create moments of presence. Because I think that's what people in the world are seeking. They want more peace. They want more ease, but it's not in our mind. And when you have a sensation of realizing the moment, that feeling of, wonderment of presence, you really get that. But it comes through, I have found, either a really, people are searching, they're seeking, they're wanting more. It comes through maybe crisis upheaval. Maybe someone has a yoga meditation practice and they're deepening, but it is an awareness and consciousness that I want to cultivate more moments of presence. And how do I do it? And that peace I'm seeking, there it is. It's not in our mind.
It's not in our mind, and it's not externally. It's not from someone else. It's not from an environment. It literally comes from within. And it comes from those moments where you can get really quiet and be comfortable with yourself. And that's a practice, and it's work. Yeah. And it's work.
It is a conscious choice every day. I mean, being human. And I had an experience actually a few days ago. I have a large family, and I was with my family, and there was one person in particular, like, I got triggered. And later in the day, I thought, oh my gosh, I was so irritated that I got irritated. But then not long after, a knowing came through, like, this is so good because it's showing me where I have to do some work, where I need some healing. And I really had some moments of presence. I breathed into my body. I felt the energy, and it cleared. It was powerful.
Yeah. It awakens in you whatever it is that you need to correct. And I think those moments are powerful. And like, I now use it as a game, like for myself. It's like how I like hold myself accountable, because like through Kabbalah, I've learned so much. Like, okay, this is a test. And then I'm going to get that test again, and I'm going to keep getting it again until I don't do it. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to waste my points on this test. Like, so now when it's happening, I'm like, breathe. Okay, this is a test. This is where it's coming from. And so I play this stupid little game with myself to like not allow myself to fall into it.
Well, it sounds right on target. It's building that awareness muscle. Where am I? What's happening? I recently talked to author Sherianna Boyle of Just Ask Spirit, and I loved how she framed it of just energy consciousness and tuning in. Are you expanding? Are you contracting? Right. and tuning in, where are you? And okay, how do you want to live? What do you want to do? And we know, I just think about, this is where I go. I think about how we're energy, everything's energy. We have an energy field around us. And where am I? Am I in this place of just anger, fear, unrest, lowest vibrational energies our bodies can hold? Or am I moving up into love, joy, thankfulness, highest vibrational energy? And easy to say, but again, it's letting the feelings come through us, the pathway to healing. It's feeling our feelings. And when we can feel them, there's that integration, the healing. It's powerful.
We want to be the cause, not the effect of our lives, right?
Mm-hmm. I appreciate what you shared earlier about making the money you wanted and buying a house you wanted. And then yet it wasn't the answer. It didn't give you that fulfillment. And isn't that incredible information? You think about the American way, and it's about being in the world and being really successful and making money. And at the end of the day, is that what feeds your heart and soul? And I saw this play out honestly in my family system with my parents, my in-laws. It just, at the end of the day, yes, money can make life easier, but that deep love, joy, peace, yeah, it's not there.
No, it's not there. I mean, look, I love money. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I think it's a gift. I think it makes everything in life easier, and you can help so many more people with money. But it won't solve the lack within you. And I think that's the thing and it won't make you feel worthy. You can have $12 million in your bank account.
Mm-hmm.
But if you feel unworthy inside, it's not going to change anything. And then the way that you use that money to help other people is going to come from a place of lack because you feel lack. So we really have to make ourselves feel whole and reconnect back to our center to feel this energy of being full, of being worthy. And then that's how we operate, and that's how we move through the world. But it was really a profound moment for me because I felt like I had checked all the boxes I wanted to check. And I've always, since I was little, wanted to accomplish these things before I ever even thought about getting married. Because for me, I wanted to do it myself. It's just how I'm hardwired. And I was like, oh, now I've done it. And I turned 40 and all of these things. And I don't feel like I'm living in my purpose. And I think part of that, it really came from, I wasn't living in my purpose. I wasn't in doing anything from a work perspective that I felt like was giving me life or was giving me, I enjoyed it and I'm helping people, but am I making the impact or using my true gifts? And I think that's where it really awakened something in me. Because I was like, I have the things. And again, I love money. I think money, it can be used for good, not evil. And I truly believe that. But that doesn't give you purpose. And you have to find your purpose. The only way you find your purpose is inside of you. You don't find it externally. So it really was a wake-up call for me to be like, you know what? This is not, I'm closer to my truth, but I'm still not living in my truth. And that's where the book started to come from, and all of that energy of just kind of being in nature. I was, the house I bought is out east in the Hamptons, and it's such a quiet place. And, I have all these animals in my backyard and I just love it. And it just made me start to feel connected again to, I think, to my true self. And it gave me the space outside of the chaos of the city where I was always chasing the thing and chasing the success or the title. And that's ego driven. And it took me 40 years to get there to realize that's my ego. I don't need the title. I don't need that. What really fulfills me and makes me feel alive is helping other people and supporting other people and doing things that bring joy to others. And it was another wake up call for me. So I've had several of those over the span of my life.
And I would say you're young in discovering this. I think our lives lead us to these paths, and I hear and sense and feel the openness with you, and now opening to where you're being called next.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think of money, this has helped me years ago, of thinking money as it's just neutral. I mean, it is a gift, yes, and it's neutral. And it's really about how can we live from our heart and soul, live from the inside out, and who we're called to be. And I think all these experiences have shaped you to who you are to this day.
Yeah.
And now it's like, watch out. Tell us about, I know I've heard you're writing a book. I'd love to hear about your book and what your focus and passion is now.
So the book has evolved several times over the last, I'd say, 2 years. It started as a memoir talking about my mom's death, talking about my brain tumor and the brain surgery, and my kind of overcoming what happened to me in my career after my brain surgery and the job transitions that came with it. And that was the original book. And then I wrote it, and I was almost at the end, and I said to the wonderful woman, Rochelle, I think you know, who is working on my book proposal with me, I got to the end and we thought we were done. And I was like, it's not the book.
Mm.
I don't feel called. And
That's amazing.
I had gone to Miami. David Guyam was hosting a Kabbalah seminar, and I was like walking on the beach, and I was just talking out loud. And I was like, I don't feel connected to this. I felt like it was something I needed to get off my chest, but it wasn't what the world needed. I was like, how is this book? And then it just all kind of came to me. So I've completely started anew. And the working title for it now is called Those Who Hesitate Die. And it's a play on something. Well, it's not a play. It actually is something my mom said to me when I was 16, learning to drive. I was going through a 4-way intersection, and the lights were about to turn. And I knew I should keep going because otherwise it was going to cause an accident. But I slammed on the brakes, and I almost caused a major collision. And she just super calmly said to me, Jamie, those who hesitate die.
Mm.
And it was such a prolific thing to say to a 16-year-old. I don't think she understood the profound effect it had on me, because I've used it constantly in my life, where my friends sometimes call me and laugh. They're like, oh, I almost hesitated today. And it's not about the driving, right? Or it's not about the literal death. It's like where your dreams go to die is in the hesitation. And when we hesitate and we don't trust ourselves and we don't trust our gut, what are we allowing to die within ourselves, within our dreams, and how do those things then impact the other people around us? Because maybe you have a gift that you're hesitating on and you're hiding, and you could be helping so many people overcome. So it's kind of that story. It talks a lot about just trusting your intuition, getting back grounded in yourself, and really having the power to walk through doors and try things and see if they work. And as soon as you know they don't, walk away from it. We're so conditioned to be like, you have to stay in this. You get married for life. You have one job. You go to college. You know what you're going to do. And you have to have this one career or be this one thing. And I think that that's such a hindrance. Like, I was at Soul Cycle the other morning, and my best ideas always come to me then. And I'm like, why? I have nowhere to write this down.
Oh, that's good. I love it.
It was making me crazy, but I was like, don't forget this. But it's true. I was like, wow, what a gift. We all have this gift that we can wake up today and be whoever we want to be.
Mm-hmm.
We can try whatever we want to try. We can decide we're going to be someone new. We can decide we're going to change careers. We can decide we're going to walk away from a relationship, or we can decide we're going to run towards a dream. And like, how lucky are we as humans to like have this opportunity? I was like, wow, this is such an amazing thing. And I really think about that all the time. I've lived a lot in my life of like, I like to try to find out. And I don't mean try like reckless thing. Like, I've never done a drug in my life like that. No, I don't have that lack of like self-control. Like, I like to be in control. I like trying things in control, but I want to like walk through the door and see if it's the right thing. And when I walk through that door, I'm going to give 150%, because then I know if it's right for me. And then you find out really fast if it is or it isn't. And then you walk away from it. But the book is really about helping people to reclaim their power and their confidence in doing something like that. And I think it's so important because we're taught to just stay on a linear path and be one thing. And like, I've always known since I was little, I don't want to be one thing. I want to be able to do multiple things. I ended up in a career on a very straight path because I was living for my mom, and I was living in a way that was serving her. And I'm so grateful and that I was able to do that. But once I was able to like release those chains and just be myself, I'm like, I just think it's such an amazing feeling to be able to do and try things. And of course it comes with risk, and you have to have the stomach for the risk. But once you do it, it's not as scary. It's scarier leading up to it than actually the jump.
Your story is so inspiring. Thank you for sharing that. And it sounds to me like writing the first version, the memoir, helped you process and integrate your story to then really listen and feel within, this actually isn't the message. And that phrase that you shared of those who hesitate die, Wow, that's a powerful message. And what I'm hearing is you said power, and I'm hearing purpose. And why are we here on this earth? Why are we here? What are you doing? Very powerful.
Thank you.
Mhm. Mm, very, very powerful message. And Rochelle Fredson, I just have to say, she's amazing. Anyone hearing this message, if you're writing a book, she's your person. I met her through Gabby Bernstein, and she is a godsend in helping navigate finalizing your book and book proposal. It's a whole world that I've.
Whole world, and she's so patient and so thoughtful, and I mean, I'm so grateful. Between her and Noah, I feel like I have like the best support system to bring
Yep.
this child into the world.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And that was my path. Rochelle, and then Noah, who also shout out wizard with words and creativity. And he helped launch my book. He's helping me launch my podcast. He's absolutely amazing. So the message, another message I'm hearing is just trust, listening inward. Can you share a little more about your thoughts around trust and also, second part of the question is a practice. I mean, it sounds like you're very mindful of how you listen within. I don't know if there's a particular practice that you do in your life.
Yeah. So I think trusting yourself over, you have to trust yourself over everything else, because no one knows the right decision for you but you. And you can follow someone else's playbook, but then you're living someone else's life. And I learned early in my career, in my corporate career, in building and leading teams, is like, you have to be very tuned into what other people need. So the way I manage you might be different than I manage Noah, because you both need different things. So if we apply that then to our own lives, knowing that people around us need different things in order to learn or to understand or to feel connected, then why would we assume that your practice would be the solve for me? Right? Because like I maybe I don't need to be structured, or maybe that doesn't takes me outside of my norms. So I think trusting yourself, I think we all know, we all have that really quiet voice in our heads, and the quiet one is the right one, because it's really hard to decipher sometimes, right, between fear and intuition. The intuition is quiet, it's just a calm knowing. And if you can really get centered in yourself, you'll know, you feel it. So the most important thing we can do is trust ourselves. Why are we going to put our faith in someone else to fix it for us? We're responsible for our own lives. We're the CEO of our own lives. I think about when I was going to leave the corporate world to then, be an entrepreneur, work for myself, and give up the benefits and give up the the safe salary and all of those things and the paycheck. And it's terrifying. Don't get me wrong. The fear I had around it was so much greater than the actual reality of like how it happened, and how much more liberating it is. And I think when we can really get calm and trust ourselves and know that we will find a way out. And I think it's important for people, anytime they doubt themselves, is to go back to a time in your life where you actually did the thing, where you're like, your back was up against the wall and you're like, I don't know what to do. And then you did it and you got yourself out of it. Right. So it's like, okay, if you did it once, why wouldn't you trust yourself to do it again? And during the pandemic, I had gone to run a startup that folded during the pandemic, and I lost my job. And that was the end of my corporate career. It was like the universe did it for me. It was like, you're not meant to be, you need to go and do your own thing. And I think back to that time when everyone was calling me saying, my old boss prior to that was, come back to your job. We've held it for you. Like, we'll take you back. And it was a pandemic. And the smart thing to do would have been to just go back to that role. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
then I'm living my old life. I'm not living the new version of myself that I want to be. So, and then I also had a moment with myself and I was like, why would I put my trust into somebody else? I'm going to put my whole future into someone else controlling my career. We just had a pandemic. The world's collapsing around us. No one knows what's going to happen. And I'm going to trust you? Like, I've got to bet on me. And I've got to trust myself that no matter what, I'll figure it out. And I think we all have to remind ourselves, and it's not easy. And it's still a conversation I have with myself all the time. And people will say, maybe it's not the most financially smart decision. Maybe it is, maybe it is. It depends how you want to live, but you just have to do whatever you're doing for yourself and know that you will always find a way. And it gets easier because it comes more ingrained in part of you, but getting quiet and getting still is the only way to come back to it. So I've really gotten, I wasn't a big meditator, I would say, until about 2 years ago. I haven't been a consistent meditator since I've gone to Joe Dispenza's. I went to one of his seminars and sat, and I was like, I can't meditate for an hour. This is insane. Who has the time for this? And then I sat in that room with 5,300 people around me, and that hour and a half went by like 5 minutes, and I was like, oh, can I meditate more? And it's just, once you do it, one, it builds confidence because you know you can sit still and you can quiet mind, but then you learn you can control your mind. And I think that is the most powerful thing. So anyone who is like, I don't have time to meditate, take 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes, get really quiet. We all have 5 minutes. If you have to get up an hour earlier to get that extra 5 minutes in, or maybe it doesn't come in the morning, maybe it comes in the middle of your day, but I think that is the most powerful thing. And I can only say I've only really started consistently doing this, over the last couple of years, but it makes such a difference. And there are even mornings when I'll wake up and I'm like, I feel agitated or I feel anxious. And I'm like, no, you don't. Go sit down. Sit down for 5 minutes. And right? It changes everything.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Right on. Yep. And it's a decision, it's a choice, it's an awareness of tuning in, just tuning in. Where am I? Oh, I'm feeling kind of off. I'm feeling unrest. And 5 minutes. And I even share with people, notice what speaks to you. Is it breath? Is it meditation? Is it a body movement? Even just sitting or standing. Sitting's nice. 5 minutes, just sit for 5 minutes and just be aware, watch, sense, feel, just sit for 5 minutes. That's what I'll do. Some days I meditate every day, but if I miss a day, it's just being aware, conscious, my breath, sitting for 5 minutes is life-changing.
Watch the birds. If you can't meditate, just stare out the window and watch the birds. Or if you're in the city, like, I don't know, there's always something to find that you can focus your attention on and just let your mind kind of go a little numb, because your mind needs time to rest and like recalibrate itself too. So huge fan of that.
Yeah. And I'm also hearing these gifts have been inside of you your whole life. I mean, just going back to you sharing the dreams you were having and this intuition and knowing it and then sharing even just biking when the thoughts come to you. Well, that's because your mind's probably not going 100 miles an hour. And that's where the guidance drops in for all of us.
Have to give it space to come through. Have to give it space.
I have to share, I had in some ways a similar path to you, that I was on the corporate track. I was in advertising. I was with Time Magazine, my family, my father, all my siblings, 5 of them, everyone on the business path. So even though I went through a life-threatening situation as a child and started reading voraciously books, I'm like, why are we alive? What does this mean? I still went down the corporate path because that was the family path. But I started feeling nudgings inside, like, this isn't it. And I knew I was going to make a change, but it really took, I had a near-death experience in my 30s. And after that, within a month, I'm like, I'm done. I was one of the top salespeople for Time Magazine. I'm like, this isn't it. And I gave my notice, and my family was all but in. Well, my siblings I told them I was leaving Time Warner and I'm going to study theology. There was just dead silence on the phone with every one of them. They're like, what? And my father, consummate entrepreneur, had several companies. He's been gone now about 20 years. But I vividly remember going out and telling him, leaving Time Magazine to study theology. And he started screaming, yelling at the table in front of my 7-year-old son, Owen. And he's like, geology. And I'm like, no, theology. It was just like, oh my gosh, but a coming of age of like accepting this is your path and where are you feeling called and what is drawing you. And I just knew in my heart and soul this was right. And my dad did become my biggest supporter before he died, but it's trusting that guidance, trusting that intuition, feeling into it. And even though luckily my husband was supportive, thank goodness, but everyone else was just questioning me or like, what are you doing with your life? Because I come from a wildly corporate background. And anyway, but the message, listening within, where are you being guided? So thrilling to hear of your book. I can't wait to read it. It sounds like it'll just be a very powerful message and what people are hungering for. They're wanting more, I think, peace and purpose and living from a place of deep stillness and purpose. Why are we here?
Yeah. Why are we here? It's to make an impact, right? It's to
Mm-hmm.
serve others and to give back. So
And also part of your healing journey, I can imagine, is healing for all of us, but family of origin, it sounds from your, and we're running out of time, but just, gosh, yeah, the fact that you're a caretaker, that is always caring for your family, caring for your mom. And then how do you make that shift to heal within and care for yourself?
yeah, I mean, that was, I think, the biggest, like, probably one of the most shocking, jarring things to experience, right? It was like when you're living for I've lived my whole 27 years at that point for others. My dad was very sick when I was growing up, and my mom then got sick, and then and money was always a thing, and so my brother and I started working young, and that we kind of took on that role. And now that I'm old enough, I can kind of look back and was like, no one made me do that, though. That was a conscious choice. I chose to take on that and to burden myself with it. And I shouldn't say burden, because it wasn't a burden. I wanted to do it, but I put that pressure on myself. No one else did. And so I own that. But it's like when that's all and you've made all your decisions up until that point for others, you're like, it was like I literally, someone like just dropped me in the middle of the forest with nothing and was like, okay, figure it out. Like, you got to find your way. I didn't know what to do. I was completely lost. And I think that it took a lot. If I didn't have that brain tumor and that fall, I don't know if I would have ever found my way. I
Mm-hmm.
hope that I would. I would like to think that I would. But when you get so caught living for someone else, it's like, how do you find your true identity and who you are? And I had to rediscover that. And it took me many years. And I'm still to this day reinventing myself and trying to find the thing that is my purpose and fulfills me. And that just takes trial and error and finding it. But you have to take care of yourself first. I really learned that. And look, we're not always in the position where we can, right? There are sometimes sacrifices, and those sacrifices are part of life. And you have to make those choices sometimes. But when you can get back to yourself, I realize now, if I was living in a more aligned state, I would have been living a happier life, and I probably would have been able to give more and bring more joy and do things more effectively than living in this place of like, I'm just on autopilot living for someone else. And that just takes life experience to find your way and figure that out. But yeah, you've got to get back to yourself, and that is the most important thing. And I think for anyone out there who's a caretaker or who is taking on other people's stresses, it's really important to take time for yourself. Even like I always say to my sister-in-law, she's an incredible mom, and my nephew is like the best thing that's ever happened to any of us. Like, I just love him so much. But she's always taking care of my brother and my nephew. I'm like, you got to take time for yourself. Like, I don't care if it's 5 minutes, go sit in the closet. Like, just, you got to give yourself a minute, because we have to care for ourselves. You can give so much more to others when you're whole inside, and you have to force yourself to take that time. So for anyone who's struggling with it, I know it's easier said than done. But I really, really encourage you to take care of yourself.
Beautiful words lived fully from your life experience. And wow, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And I think we learn how to keep moving forward, opening into our lives, shaped by our life experiences, and our early childhood shapes so much of who we are. And you learn that, not for good, for bad. You learn that as a child, but it took that experience of falling and cracking you open to really go deeper and look within.
Yeah.
Why am I here? How do I want to live? And I think a big message is we can heal, every one of us. We can heal, and it takes so much strength and courage and awareness of looking inward, like, what do I want? How do I want to live? What don't I have? How can I heal? Those are big, big choices.
And what do I have? And I think that's the reminder, right? Is like, and I still do it. And I think it's human nature, right? Like, sometimes you wake up from a place of lack, and you're like, oh, I don't have this, or if only I had this thing, I would be happy. Once I get this, I'll be able to. And it's like, okay, no, what do I have? Because there's people out there doing more or happier with half of the things or none of the things that we have. And I think that it's such a powerful reminder. And it's something I'm still every single day reminding myself, like, I'm living the dream. Like, my worst day is someone's absolute dream. And on my worst day, what I say is a nightmare is someone else's dream. And I think we have to get back to that place of gratitude and remembering, like, what do we have? Like, we have so much. And even the smallest things, complain less, be more present, just be more grateful. And those little mindful choices have such a powerful impact.
Mm-hmm. Gratitude. Yep. Gratitude. And gratitude for being alive.
Yeah.
That I feel from almost dying as a child and in my 30s, that just to be alive is a gift. It is a gift.
Absolutely.
And awareness.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like we could keep talking and talking. There's so many things I want to ask you, but I want to be conscious of the end of our time. I end my podcast. I want to ask you, and you've kind of almost already defined it, but how you would define awakening. What does awakening mean to you?
Yeah, I think awakening is anytime I feel like I get grounded back into my true self. And it can come through many different ways, right? Like, sometimes it comes through the really painful wake-up calls of things I've gone through medically, challenges I've had in my career, all of those things. Sometimes the universe forces you to wake up. But I also think instead of waiting for that to happen, we can awaken that within ourselves by just going in and getting present and really trusting ourselves and getting recentered, and take a walk, take a breath, do a meditation, like, do something so small and so simple that it just bring you back to center. But for me, awakening is like anytime I feel truly connected and centered within myself. And it's just the most powerful thing.
Thank you for sharing that. That resonates with me. Awakening into your essence, your heart, your soul, that oneness with this universal energy. Absolutely beautiful. Well, you are inspiring. You have such an inspiring story. I'm so excited when your book comes out.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to share with people, how to find you, your book, when you think your book will be coming out? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, so I'm on social media is probably the best way. It's at Jaime Richichi. I have a Substack, but all of my links to like my Substack and my personal website are all in my Instagram bio. So that's probably the easiest way to find me there.
Sounds good. Lovely to meet you. I look forward to future conversations.
Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate you.
Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining Everyday Awakening. Let's keep the conversation going online. You can follow me on Instagram at Catherine Duncan, MABCC. And to keep up to date on the show, subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. I'd love to hear from you.